Hello, welcome to Marketing Matters, the show where we explore all things marketing and uncover those things that matter for you and your success. I'm your host, Denise Millay, and my hope and mission is to bring marketing and technology to you in a way that's useful, without jargon, complexity, or confusion, so you can grow your business, expand your impact in the world, and build your best life. Today's episode is called Crafting a Sample of Your Work for List Building. And I want to share a quote with you today from Robert Louis Stevenson. He says that you don't judge each day by the harvest you reap, but by the seed you plant. Now, we know Robert Louis Stevenson is a famous author, and he was a Scottish novelist, essayist, poet, travel writer, right? He wrote Treasure Island, Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, all sorts of fantastic books. And I want to share this with you because I want to position our thinking into the benefits of giving today and the hopes of understanding that when we plant seeds for our business, that we can grow future clients and customers by engaging with them in stages. Okay, so I want to think about giving and talking with our potential customers before we ask them to marry us, is what I'm basically saying. So thank you, Mr. Stevenson, for that. So the first thing we're going to talk about is samples, right? And what kind of samples are we talking about? Now, I know that some people call these lead magnets, but I don't want to use anything that cold. I want to call it truly what it is. It's a sample of your work so that someone can find out how you work. They can be attractive for potential clients to get a taste of your ideas. So the three examples that I want to talk about today are checklists, infographics, and guides. There are many different variations. There's white papers and case studies and ebooks and all sorts of other things, but I find that these three things are very good at starting initial relationships, and they are universally accepted and appreciated. So I want to go with these first. So let's talk about checklists. Checklists are simple step-by-step instructions for completing specific tasks for your target audience. Like creating a budget or buying a house or setting up a social media account, right? They provide tangible visual progress. They give reminders of the steps you have to complete as you go. They break down very complex ideas that might be hard to grasp in text and show them visually. And then they demonstrate simplicity for people so that they give that feeling that anybody can do it if you just follow the steps. Okay? It really is, it sounds simple, but it really is a great way for the mind to frame a task or a process or a system or something that you're trying to tell people that they can do, and showing them a framework for how to get it done beyond just your normal simple to-do list. This is more like a task, a process, a system kind of thing. So some of the formats, I want to remind you that this is a visual medium. The appearance of it makes it attractive and should make it easy to read, right? You want to use actual check boxes. People love them. People like the satisfying feeling of checking things off and getting them done. And believe it or not, a lot of people actually print out checklists if they're done well, if they're not too overwhelming, if they make sense and they flow. People will rely on them and print them out and actually follow them. You'd be surprised. So use the check boxes. Keep your text simple. Keep it to minimal words that you have to get an idea or a step description over to somebody. Like, don't put the articles, the thes, ifs, us. Use verbs and specific descriptors to get the point across without doing perfect English, okay? If you do that and you make it a paragraph for each checkbox that's really big, people are just going to think they're reading a guide. They're not going to see it as a checklist. You really want to narrow down the amount of text and keep it simple and keep it conversational for people so that it flows. you want to provide a link somewhere in the checklist so that if there is additional detail that's needed, they can go to a web page and get the information they need. But the checklist itself needs to be the simplified version of that they could follow as a guide or a framework, not guide, framework. So you'll see this example here on the left-hand side. This is thank you, Trulia, for this example. It's the home buying checklist, okay? And they do it really well because they focus the the 6 things that are the high level concepts, and they break it down to 2 or 3 steps at most within each. And they provide the arrows to point you from one thing to the next for things that are connected, but they don't go through a million things, okay? They narrow it down to the top 6 things you have to do to buy a house, and then they give you 2 with each. And then at the bottom, they give you a link to their blog where I'm sure there's more detailed information about this whole process and how you can engage with them. So that's the concept of what you want to do. Okay, so now we've talked about checklists, and I can't, people love checklists. I love checklists. I love paper. I love checking things off. It makes me feel satisfied to finish something. And when something is complex, it's really wonderful to have a visual 1-page, 2-page thing that makes me think I can finish it. It makes me think I can achieve a goal. It's really important that you understand the mental framework that a checklist brings to somebody and not make it too complicated. Great. Let's move on. Our next sample is infographics. And if you don't know what these are visual representations of statistics or facts or things that are relevant to your audience, right? So you want to showcase new insights without just bogging them down in numbers or phrases or titles or too much within text that makes it really hard to comprehend. So this is a great way to present those concepts visually and allow them to be absorbed in a different fashion and much faster. So when someone's processing something visually, it happens fast. Your brain processes an image faster than it can read a sentence of text. So if there is an image that is clear and presents a clear situation or idea or concept, it will be processed much faster than if they read 1 or 2 sentences to describe the same exact thing. Actually, it's like 1,000 times faster. So you could showcase insights from data you've collected or studies you've done or work that you've done across multiple clients. You can also talk about other topics that might be numbers rich. That's why we all like graphs, bar graphs, and they use them in business a lot, is because it's easier to get the concept of things going up on a graph or going down on a graph than to describe, well, this year we increased this much and the next year we increased that much and this and this. Instead, you just see the line and you know immediately what direction it's heading in, right? So you want to have it be unique data, or you want to include data that you can rely on that came from a reputable source, and then interpret it visually for your users. It's a way of simplifying the data, simplifying the concepts, and it is more interesting to consume than reading 2 or 3 pages of text, right? You know how we say we break up text with images or with headings or whatever? Well, this is another way to present a visual cue to something that could be included in text, but this is like a larger, like a brochure might be kind of thinking, that this is somebody can get the concepts easily by just skimming a visual. It's really great. And it also demonstrates relationships between data very easily. So you can have, 2 columns side by side and have a pictorial view of the differences between them, and people are going to get it right away. And they haven't read that it's 90% versus 50%, and then in the math they have to do had 90 is bigger than 50, that's 40% difference. They don't have to do any of that. They just see it immediately on the screen, and then if they want to process it in more depth, they go into the details of the picture. Up through there. Okay, so here's an example of an infographic I did for a Facebook ad where I was showing the impact of followers before and after an activity that I did on Facebook. So here are the followers I had before and here are the followers I had after. And there was a legend on this that said every little blue person equaled 100. Okay? Now, this is also how my confidence was before and after this activity. So beforehand, I was at about 40% confident, and afterwards, I felt like I was at least 80%, 75% more confident, and felt like I could do this task. And then prospect engagement increased enormously. So those three concepts were very easy to get with the headings given and the legend, and just to present ideas. Sometimes it's just easier for people, or it's interesting, more interesting. It might draw them in with the color or the brightness of it. Whereas everybody sees text, they see headings, they see stock photos, and they get tired of it. So this is just another way to format information. So what I'm going to say about my different format tips are that you want to be simplistic in your use of graphics here for visual processing. And I might even say that this piece down here, this prospect engagement photo here, was probably a little too confusing. I should have found a better way to present that with just a bar graph, engagement before, engagement after the activity. Two different bars would have been better. So I think I made it more complicated when I created this actually. Color. You want to use color consistently. My preference is to use no more than 3 colors. Maybe 4 if you're doing black and white with 2 other colors. Because the more Okay. Our visual processing, okay, the way our eyes work, is the first thing that we see are contrasting planes of vision. So contrast, say, black and white, right? And then the next color that we see on the spectrum is red. So black, white, and red. But we see the contrasting lines and things that cross over first. We don't process curves and other things as immediately as we do the straight lines. And then red adds in, and then further on the spectrum adds into our visual processing so that we can recognize something. So if you present too many colors to process by your eyes, it takes longer for that recognition of what it is to happen. Now it's still a split second, but it also can lead to confusion or frustration. People want to see it right away. They don't want to have to think about it. And I know that sounds really kind of crazy, but they want instant recognition because that makes them feel like, yes, they're drawn in. If you make it too hard for them to focus and try to find the legend or try to find the detail that explains this or whatever, then they're going to get frustrated and they might move on. They may not stop. So you want to make sure it's simplified color and use it consistently across the entire infographic, no matter how many pages it is. I mean, you can have multiple pages of an infographic. They can scroll down it. It doesn't have to be this small, but you want to use the same colors along with the images that you create. Same background, same highlighting colors, etc. Then the other thing you want to do is you want to keep the text minimal where you can. It's fine to have a small couple of lines in there as you transition from concept to concept, or to have a heading with a line underneath it maybe, and then have the pictures or the percentages or whatever it is you're going to show. But you don't want to overdo it with text, because again, they're not supposed to be reading this. They're supposed to get the concept by skimming, see the picture, and absorb the comprehension of what it is from the visual. If you put too much text that they have to read, then it's confusing. Then they're flipping back and forth between text and image. You want to catch them with an image first. And you also then, in this, because you save it as a PDF to share as a downloadable, you can have a link in it. You can set a link in it, like I know you can do that in Canva. You can put a link on something and say, click here for more information, and then they will get it. Okay, the last format we're going to talk about is guides. Okay, this is content that takes a little more effort to put together, and it would be information guides or buyer's guides. You're helping somebody make a more well-informed purchase decision, or you're guiding them on things that they can do to improve something. You're giving them a concept that they didn't fully understand before and may not have thought of your insights the way they have them. okay? And you're creating it in a PDF form that can be downloaded. Now, when you're using a guide as to build your list, you want one single idea answering their issue or need, your prospective client or customer, okay? You want to demonstrate your knowledge and how you can help with this guide and how you can apply what you do to them and make their life better or solve their issue or help them with their needs, right? You want to show your authentic self is the next thing I'm going to say. You want to make sure, yes, that your grammar is correct. Yes, there's no spelling mistakes, but you don't have to use 3 or 4 syllable words everywhere if that's not how you speak. You might want it instead to reflect more of how you talk to people when you interact with them. So I find that if I write things conversationally in my first draft, just like I was standing and talking to someone as I tried to describe something, I start off in a better place. I can still go and polish it and make it more readable, but I start out with a conversation in my writing in my first draft. Sometimes I'll even record it, an audio recording on my phone as I'm thinking it through, and then I'll use the transcript to help me formulate my guide, okay, to get my top ideas across. You also want to provide a link within this PDF to more information on your website, because the whole purpose of this is you got them to sign up in your list, but let's say you don't want to wait, they don't want to wait to get an email and they see something in the guide that is perfect for them. Well, you want to take them somewhere that they can satisfy the next need they have if they're ready to act. So don't miss that opportunity to send them somewhere that's helpful. And make sure in the text at the end, actually I can show you a sample of that in a minute, or you'll see it when you download my guide today, is that you describe yourself and your business and you provide contact information at the end of the guide so that they can type in the information if they want, but you can also provide an actionable link that you can set in Canva before you download it, so it's really a great option. Guides are not meant to be ebooks. Okay, so some people get confused. I mean, I think you can have a guide that you're using as a giveaway if you have a lot of information that you want to share, but I personally would call that an ebook. If it's more than 2 or 3 pages, to me, that is a much bigger guide than what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about one single idea, one single topic that is going to move them forward and demonstrate how you work. So think about it as this is someone who doesn't know you yet at all. And if you provide a 50-page guide, do they need all 50 pages? Are they going to read all 50 pages? No, you want to give them a sample, a taste of an indication of how you treat a topic, what your insights are, how you speak, what your voice is. So there's a lot you're conveying. You don't have to do it in 50 pages because nobody reads it unless they really have to do research or they have to learn something. The concepts that they're pulling in, you want them to be able to skim it and pull it in and get excited about it, right? So you want to make sure those 2 or 3 pages have punch and impact into what they're thinking. So that means you have to understand your ideal client too. So that's another conversation for another day. Anyway, okay, so some things to consider as you create your guide. You want to keep the language conversational for easy reading, as we said. You want it to be skimmable, and the way you do that is you use subheadings and headings. If you had just a heading and just paragraphs of text without any font changes, colors, boldness, not boldness, size, font, lower, it's very plain. It's very hard to read. Everybody that reads online, it's not an easy thing. So you're scrolling and skimming at the same time. You're trying to keep up with the words and you're skipping all the articles. You're skipping all the little words. You're just going for the major thoughts. And if someone only has 30 seconds to look at your guide, then your heading should convey and your subheading should convey what message you were trying to get across and what interesting ideas you have to share with them and how you understand what their issues and needs are and you're ready to serve them. So try to remember that too, is the people that are really reading it. And it's not for one that we don't want to read things, because I read a lot of things. It's just that there's so much coming across my screen and there's so little time to pay attention to it that I can't. I used to be able to, before we lived in the world we had, is I used to be able to print out something or set something aside on my desktop and go back and read it on the weekend. Well, now the weekends are filled with all sorts of other things. And all week long, there's just no time to catch up on these things. So you gather snippets during your day. You have at lunch, you might get 10 minutes to scroll through some things. And if something's interesting, then you file it away for later, right? You want to understand that process. Be knowing that that is the reality for a lot of people. And it doesn't mean they don't want to hear your message. It just means that they may not be ready for the whole thing to act on it right now, but they want to know what you have to say. And they're interested enough, they went through to sign up to download your thing. So you want to make sure that you give them a taste and something enticing to really interact with. Okay? Now, the other thing I'm going to say is my personal preference is 1 to 3 pages maximum on this type of guide for new potential clients. I don't believe in bombarding someone with 20 pages of text as a way to prove that you know what you're talking about. I think you can do that skillfully and artfully in 2 to 3 pages and adapt to what our target audience can do. Now, does that mean you could have an ebook or something further on your website to go into more detail? Absolutely. So you provide a link to that and say, hey, for more information, if you want to find out about this, go do it. Go here. And that's fine. But for the document itself, just don't give away the whole store. Just give away a taste and see how it goes. Now you're going to distribute this in .pdf format. You can save a Microsoft Word document or a Google Doc in PDF format, and you can save something in Canva in PDF format. The reason you do that is you don't want to make it super easy for someone to cut and paste your work and get all your formatting and everything else. You want to make it a little bit more difficult. And PDF format is smaller and easier to store and download. So it's a universal format, and almost every major program that you use provides a way to do PDF format. Excuse me. Let's talk about distribution. There's 3 ways that I want to talk about today. Is you can use your giveaway on social media, via email to share, or on your website. So social media, you can put a link to your giveaway in a post, or you could have it on your profile where you're allowed to have a website link. You can have a link to your giveaway, so just give the URL for the giveaway page. You can have it on your Facebook page cover. In the picture itself, you could superimpose it on the picture, kind of like I did on this 5 free online tools. You could lay the text over an image, and then you could do it in your advertising. Excuse me. Email. You can create emails, conversational emails, to the people that are on your list currently and share your giveaway. If they're already on your list, they may have signed up a long time ago, and you want to share your latest thing with them because they're not always at the same place with new people that have joined your list. And the whole purpose of having a list is to nurture community. So the more that you have everybody at the same place or having access to the same materials, the better off you are, and the better, easier it is to create a conversation. So you can release a sample, a giveaway, a free gift to your current email list, and then subsequent emails can talk about things within that document because you've provided it to everybody. So think about that too. You can send it to business contacts. So let's say you have people you've worked with in the past or something else. Well, and if you create a guide for a different service, you say, hey, I just built this. I thought you might be interested. Or please share it with anyone that you know that might need the information. And that's a great way to point people to your business and also share with your peers things that you're doing. In case they come across somebody that needs that service, they're going to remember that. And they're going to say, oh, I have this guide from this person that might help you. So don't feel uncomfortable sharing what you create with other people that already know you. It's not like you're begging for them for work. You're actually saying, hey, if you know anybody that this might help, please share it or hang on to it. If you come across anybody who in the future might need it, I'd love you to share it with them. It'd be great, right? So that's a really great thing to do to expand your reach on your free sample. Now on your website, there's a page on your website that is the link that you send everybody to from your social media or your ads or your pages to go, and the sign up page for the um, for the free gift. Then you have automations on the background, which will be the topic of another episode, that sends an email after they give the form information, and they'll get a link to the download. Then you also want to place this on your homepage somehow, like a little square says, hey, are you interested in my new free whatever? And they can sign up for it too. Because if someone comes in from a blog post or somewhere else and they just visit your site, you want them to have access to this free gift too. So let me show you. Oh my goodness. Here's my free gift giveaway page. So my complimentary guide, 5 website strategies to boost your business. So it's as simple as putting in their name and their email and clicking on yes, send me the guide. Now when they click on this, it provides a thank you page, which is part of the automation in the background. It sends an email to that email address to verify that it's a valid email. And once they verify it, then they'll get an email with the link. And that's called double opt-in. So you're actually verifying all the email addresses you add to your list. You can also do it with just a single opt-in too. I have a free gift for you today. It's a guide containing info on 5 website strategies to boost your business. I showed you this graphic in the previous segment. I just wanted to give you an opportunity to go to that same landing page at dmalay.com/5, F-I-V-E, and you can enter your information and you'll get an email with the link to download. I really appreciate you joining me today, and I thought I'd give you a little bit about what I do as you're writing down this web address. I help entrepreneurs build their websites, their automations, and their courses and digital products so that they can spend their time in their zone of expertise. Not everybody's comfortable or has the time to do all these tech tasks, and that's what I like to do. So if you're interested, if you have any questions, please reach out to me on my website at dmalay.com or my show page, Marketing Matters Show, or Denise Malay on Facebook. Please reach out and let's have a conversation. Thanks so much. And thank you. I'm so glad you could join me for this episode of Marketing Matters. I know how precious your time is, and my hope is you came away from this episode with 1 or 2 nuggets you can apply to your business. My aim is to provide clear, useful info so you can have a thriving business and amazing relationships with your customers and clients. As always, if you have any questions, as I said, go to my website at dmalay.com or drop me a comment in my Facebook pages, Marketing Matters Show or Denise Malay. Thanks so much.